Hey everyone, welcome back to the Miraculous Mamas podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Joy. I am a certified birth doula and prenatal coach, and we believe in empowering women through storytelling and education. And today we're going to have a little birth story, pregnancy story, new mom life story from Lesley Murphy. We have such a great time chatting. She's so much fun. I feel like she's definitely a kindred spirit. She's traveled all over the world and just has a passion for adventure and culture, and she's just so much fun. She recently just had her baby, so everything that she experienced from finding out she was pregnant to birthing and up until now has been, you know, in the weird times of the pandemic. And so everyone's stories are kind of different these days. It's hard, I think, finding a new norm in parenting is weird anyways, but on top of that, like navigating what's going on in the world and having to set up different boundaries with family or just figuring out what's right for you. And in her case, her husband's from Australia, so they can't even see his family. They can't fly there and visit. His family can't fly here and visit. And they don't know when their baby's going to be able to meet their dad's side of the family. So many crazy things going on, but we have such a great conversation. She's so much fun to chat with. If you guys missed last week's episode, make sure that you hop on and listen. We had an interview with a cult survivor, Melissa, and she just has such a heart for women. With everything that she's been through and now just wanting to help women step out of fear and into who they're created to be and be confident and live in their passions and find out who they are, because sometimes your identity is kind of chosen for you. And she's just so awesome. Her story's incredible, and she's very, very inspiring. And then next week, you're definitely going to want to tune in because I have the minimalist mom on. And if you guys know me, I am not a minimalist. In my mind, I strive to be one, but in real life, I'm very far from it. I will say I'm slowly working toward it, and that's like extremely slowly, like the pace of a snail slowly. And I just need to like set a time to throw away a bunch of stuff. But she has so many tips for us. Diane's coming on, the minimalist mom, and she has tips to help you live minimally. And that doesn't mean your kids are going to go without. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have options to wear or things like that. But she just is so strategic in decluttering your home and decluttering your mind and creating space in your life for experiences and not being bogged down by things. So she is just so much fun to talk to. I get a lot of great pointers from her and a little inspiration to go through our entire house and throw things away. So you guys are definitely going to want to check her out next week. All right, I'm going to go ahead and grab Lesley. All right, everyone, I have Lesley Murphy here. You guys may have known her from a reality television, but if you follow her on Instagram, she's just such a cool chick to follow. You guys know that I love traveling. I've backpacked a lot on my own as well. So watching her just kind of fearlessly travel the world when she was single and now with a family is so cool. So I'm so glad that she is here to chat with us. She's a first-time mom, just has a little peanut at home. So we're going to dive into all of our favorite things. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk all the things, motherhood, travel, anything you want. Yeah, nothing's off the table.
Perfect. That's what we love to hear. I guess I'd love to ask, because you traveled tons before you had a baby, and you traveled as a single woman, solo, and then you met your partner,
Alex.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why did I say Pete?
I don't know. That's fine. Alex. Yeah. Some people call him also known as drone pilot. So
drone pilot. Okay. That's for some reason I was thinking. Okay. So Alex, which is cool that you met somebody else who has like this love for travel.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'd love to just kind of you talk about like traveling on your own and then meeting somebody that kind of has the same love and being able to share in that joy as well.
Yeah, it's just the best. So I think if anybody listening has never experienced solo travel, I would highly, highly recommend it because it's seriously life-changing and it's the best. It just like kind of breaks you out of this box out of your comfort zone and teaches you so much. And then it just becomes addicting in a way. Like even now with a partner and a family, I still crave solo travel. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think travel has many sides to it, right? But I started my travel blog back in 2014 in Buenos Aires in Argentina. And I was working over there, and I remember quitting my job to start a blog, and my family was like, "What are you doing?" And I logged hour after hour on that couch trying to build it and reach out to anybody I could. And so it just kind of took off from there. And a lot of those adventures in the beginning, in the first few years, were solo adventures around the world. And I mean, some of the best memories I've ever had. And then I was lucky to, bring my mom on some and friends on others. And so I feel like you never really know somebody until you travel with them. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've experienced that, for like the good and the bad. And so cut to 2018, and I met, my partner, Alex. I slid into his DMs asking him if he could fix my drone. Really, really, really random. And I think it was like, a few weeks later, we were off to Norway for our first trip. And I'd only known this guy for a few weeks. And so my parents were like, "Who is this guy? Is he a serial killer? Like, what are you doing?" And I was like, "It's fine. It's fine. Like, I feel good about this." And we got to know each other so well on that trip because, it was a road trip. We were staying in a different hotel every night. And it was just, at the end of it, he asked me out. Like it was like a very old school thing I'll never forget, just to be exclusive. And I was like, absolutely. Like, yes, I love that you are so spontaneous to book a trip to Norway anyway, with only knowing me for a few weeks. Like that was a great sign. And it was just it's a match made in heaven. And I actually traveled for the first time last weekend in a really long time without him and by myself, just to go meet some friends. And I'm like, I miss my travel buddy. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful evolution. It really is.
Did you ever get, because I know for me, people would tell me all the time, like, don't you want to meet someone? Don't you want to settle down? And I would get those comments all the time because I would travel a lot by myself. Yes. And my response would always be like, I want to meet someone doing what I love. Why am I going to stop doing the things I love and change who I am in order to meet someone? So like, what was your response when people did people say that to you, and how would you respond?
Yeah, it's a good question. I also got a lot of, what are you running from? And I really don't like that. And I've sat with that for many years. And I'm like, am I running from something? No, I just really love travel. I love what it brings me. I love that it teaches you more than anything out of a textbook. And, I did have people say, you're never going to really meet anybody unless you plant roots. And I think that's ridiculous. Because I met so many people on my travels, but it was weirdly enough LA that brought the two of us together, because he just happened to be in LA, and that allowed me to try and have him fix my drone. But I hate that perspective, because I think that's a wrong way of looking at it, because you can do yourself a major disservice by staying in one place trying to meet somebody, when there are so many walks of life to come in contact with by doing the thing you love, if that's travel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you can apply it to like any area, whether it's like travel or not. All right, I want to take a break from this episode to talk to you about my favorite jewelry line, and that is Ana Luisa jewelry. I got myself a while ago the necklace that says Mama on it, and I wear it all the time. It's one of my favorite pieces. Also, the medium gold hoops. I rock those all the time too. And what I love about them is that they are carbon neutral. Their prices are fair, and they are amazing quality, very long-lasting pieces that are crafted to be those curated pieces that you can throw with anything. You can dress an outfit up, you can make it casual, and they match everything. And you can wear them every single day. And also they make everything in limited batches, which means that they don't overproduce it. So they don't just have a bunch of jewelry hanging out. They limit their batches, making sure that the highest production standards are being met while eliminating excess waste. Another reason why I love them is that they have jewelry that can go for any occasion. And like I said, I bought myself the mama necklace a while ago, and I just ordered a few more pieces. Their rings are another one of my favorites. I'm a huge fan of dainty jewelry, and they have some really nice dainty rings that fit really nicely and are really high quality. I know that Mother's Day is over now, but it's not too late to get yourself or your mom or your best friend or anyone that you know a nice piece of jewelry from Ana Luisa. They also come out with new jewelry collections every single Friday. So right now, head over to Ana Luisa, that's ANALUISA.com/miraculousMD to go treat yourself and your loved ones. And you can use the code MiraculousMD to get 15% off. I absolutely recommend them to everyone that I know who's looking for some new jewelry. So go to Ana Luisa, that's ANALUISA.com/miraculousMD and use code MiraculousMD. So after you guys got together, can I ask, was this a planned pregnancy or an unplanned pregnancy?
We weren't necessarily trying, but we weren't not trying. Like
it was like whatever happens.
Yeah. I'd gotten off birth control a few months prior, and for no reason, just other than I woke up one day and it was like my body kind of rejected it, and so I just listened to that, and a few months later we were pregnant, and we could not have been more excited. I mean, we both knew we wanted to have children, and he wanted to have kids like last year. So it was a blessing. It really was.
Mm-hmm. So when you got pregnant, was there, I guess, anything that changed in how you planned on living your life in the next year?
I mean, having a baby in a pandemic is weird in and of itself, because it kind of took any planning out the window. And we just kind of rolled with it because we knew we couldn't get married. He had proposed a few weeks before the world shut down back in February of 2020. And he's an Australian. And so we knew we wanted our families there for the wedding. And so we knew we couldn't do that. And so I think when we found out we were pregnant, we were so elated because it was like, well, screw the wedding. Like, we will happily have a baby first. And then all of bets were kind of off. Like, there's just no real planning. I mean, my travel business was thrown for a loop when the pandemic hit. And that was the first pivot I had to make. And then we were pregnant, and then a move across the country was another big ball, thrown in our court. And we just kind of like roll with it. I mean, that's why we work so well together, because neither one of us is, I guess, super strict type A. We just kind of roll with it. And we're like, okay, we're pregnant. Do we want to be in LA and have a baby? Not really. I've always heard it takes a village, and it most certainly does. And I am so Arkansas. There's nowhere else I'd rather be right now. It's Arkansas. And I think a lot of people are like, you're moving where? Uh-huh. And I'm like, yeah, back home, back around my family. And it's beautiful and so underrated. And my mom has Nora right now while I'm talking to you. And so it's amazing. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. And I'm shocked I got an Australian to come to the middle of the country.
What does he think about Arkansas?
I mean, he honestly really loves it. I think he's really taken aback by its beauty, because it really is beautiful. It's called the natural state. It's stunning. And spring really is one of my favorite times here. I think it's just sad. It's sad, talking to his family on FaceTime and knowing that we have no idea when we're going to see them next. And it's so sad because he's so close to them, and they won't be able to see their granddaughter in, I don't know, she might be 1 before they get to meet her. And I think that's just the saddest part. But I'm glad that he can do his work. He just did his biggest job ever of his career from Little Rock, Arkansas. So you can really make anything work. And that's what the pandemic, I think, has taught us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you able to travel while you were pregnant at all? And if you did, was there any fear in that because of the pandemic?
Yeah. So we were very careful. We only traveled international once, and it was for our baby moon. And I think we were slightly nervous, and I knew we were going to get a lot of backlash for it, but I didn't really care. I think you got to live your life. And if you care too much about what other people think, like, oh man, you got a long road ahead of you. I think I struggled with that for a while in the beginning. And then it was just like, oh, you got to just throw the judgment aside. And so we went off to Tahiti for our baby moon, and no regrets. Like you can travel safely and responsibly in a pandemic, even in November of 2020. And for anybody who disagrees, that's fine. Like I'm me, and my decisions aren't for everyone. And frankly, I don't care. It was amazing. And it's something that we'll always look back on and say, hell yeah, I'm so glad we did that. And then prior to that, we had, 6 months in a pandemic prior to that. And so we did a lot of road trips. We went to Colorado while pregnant, Oregon while pregnant. And it was so fun. There's so much in this country to see that I haven't seen. And that's just like a silver lining to this pandemic too. It was just exploring this country more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. There's so much beauty in our country. I'm a huge national park fan and like mountain fan. So
what's your favorite national park here?
Glacier Park in Montana.
So I like say I've sort of kind of been, because that's one place we went on The Bachelor, but of course that wasn't my date.
Right.
So yeah, that was Desiree's one-on-one date, but we were like right there, but we were secluded in a hotel. So anyway, we almost made Glacier happen when we were in Oregon last year, but it was going to be a big trip. So we'll have to save it.
All right, so life is very stressful and access to healthcare should not be. So luckily, getting the birth control that you need is one less thing that you have to worry about with the Pill Club. You'll never have to make a trip to the doctor or wait in line at the pharmacy ever again. They provide access to care from the comfort of your home and deliver to your door in discreet packaging. The Pill Club is a birth control subscription prescribed by a medical professional and delivered straight to your door for free. The Pill Club carries over 120 FDA-approved brands. Most brands of birth control are free with insurance or Medicaid. Otherwise, prices start as low as $9 per month without insurance. The Pill Club delivers birth control to your door for free in a discreet packaging. Right now, when you go to thepillclub.com/mamas, the Pill Club is offering a $10 donation to bedsider.org for every Miraculous Mamas listener who becomes a patient. Your donation will help low-income individuals get access to birth control through bedsider.org. That's thepillclub.com/mamas to get your first birth control care package and donate to help more women in need of affordable birth control. Remember, thepillclub.com/mamas. You must use the link in order to make the donation. All right, back to the episode. What's your favorite national park?
I think Zion and Yosemite battle it out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love both of them. Yeah.
Zion's
but
amazing.
I think that's like one of the U.S.'s, I think, best assets is our national park system. Mm-hmm. And like they are getting blown up, I think, in the past year because like nobody can do anything else but kind of be outside and explore. And so I'm glad they're getting the proper love they deserve.
Yeah, for sure. My husband and I were planning our baby moon in Italy last June, but like that was literally right when everything shut down and Italy wasn't even open, like nothing. So we took like a 3-hour road trip to a place where we got engaged and it was great. But I wish we could have like done something more like, just the one last big trip with just you two. Cause everyone was saying too, they're like, even if you do travel without your kids, you're still going to be thinking about them on the trip. You know, you're like checking in, you're calling home. You're like, is everything okay? Like I
see that now. Now that I'm a mom, I can totally see that. Like they'll just take up so much of your mental energy. Whereas, I guess right beforehand for a baby moon, like that's totally part of it. It's just the exhale of no responsibilities.
Right.
Yeah.
And like being somebody who's like carefree and loves to travel, it's like, you know, I went all of my 20s and the beginning of my 30s with no responsibilities. And I loved it. It's like my whole life, like I haven't really had any. And then to all of a sudden have a major one, which we were saying right before we started, like motherhood is crazy and it's hard, but it's amazing. But I really struggled with that shift because just doing whatever I want all the time was amazing. And it's not like I wanted to like go out partying or anything. It's like even just taking my dog to the park by myself and not trying to like load a stroller or try to wear her, or try to plan it around naps. It's like so crazy. And so I'd love for you to just kind of talk about like that identity and responsibility shift for you.
Yeah, I resonate with that so much. And I think that is one of the hardest parts. And you cannot adequately prepare yourself for that. Like you just can't until until your child is here. And I think that is, everybody talks about labor and delivery and the newborn stage, coming home from the hospital, but nobody really talks about birthing the mother inside of us. Mm-hmm. And that is the shift. That is the transformation. That is the hardest part. I mean, aside from sleep deprivation, is trying to identify with a new sense of self. And for me, that was super tough because I was like you know, I didn't have any real responsibilities. I didn't even have a dog. I still didn't have a dog. And so, you know, my partner and I were just so elated to be in the travel industry and be able to, you know, work with people in the travel industry and go off and explore new, you know, foreign lands. And it was in a big way, I led a very selfish kind of lifestyle for a long time. And then all of a sudden, literally overnight, it changes and you have this little human to keep alive. Mm-hmm. And so you have to, and it's not like an overnight learning course. It's like, you're learning on the job constantly. Everything's trial and error. There are more questions than answers every day. And your whole life shifts. You can't, I was so focused on my work. And then all of a sudden Nora was here and I learned very quickly that nothing else mattered. I had to surrender everything else. That's the word I kept coming back to, is surrender, because I kept trying to, for example, this podcast, I had to cancel 3 times because it's hard to just carve an hour out sometimes if you don't have a good support system around you. Mm-hmm. You know, if my partner's busy or my mom's busy in the newborn stage, it's just like, it's you, it's all you. So, and I'm still, you know, I'm still trying to grapple with what it means to be a new mom. And I think that is going to take time to, I don't know, to land. Mm-hmm. And I think that's okay. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think you can grieve your old life and welcome in the new life all in the same breath.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that 100%. And I feel like that's like exactly how I felt. Now my daughter's 8 months old, and it's just crazy how the transition does work. Like for me, the grieving was really, really hard because like I'm not from here. I moved here because this is where my husband's from, and I don't have like my family here or friends here. His family's here, and they're an amazing support system. I'm so grateful for them. But then also like in the pandemic now with a baby, like I didn't want to travel with her. Right. like to go anywhere.
Right.
And she was in the NICU for a week and we had all this other stuff. So like we just were really trying to protect her and her immune system. And so we just took our first trip over Easter to go to Dallas to visit my family there. And it was like my sister's kids, it was their first time meeting her and she was 7 months old, you know? And it's like, so when you're talking about your husband's family and stuff, it's like, it sucks. Like it sucks trying to find the new norm when like nothing's normal right now on top of that motherhood shift.
Was that a really emotional, get together meeting?
Yeah, because I haven't been there in over a year. I think it's more emotional when we left, like whenever we leave. And I've been fortunate enough that my mom, she flies here like once every 6 weeks and stays for a week with us. So
it's amazing.
Yeah. She spent a lot of time with us and the baby, but, it's more like when you leave, just because it's like, who knows what's going to happen? You know, it's like they're talking about like a second wave or different things. Like, are things going to shut down? Are they not? Like, you know, are we going to be able to fly here again? And I'm pretty hopeful. I feel like it's not going to shut down like it was, but like, you know, it's just you don't know when you're going to see each other next sometimes.
Yeah, I know. It's more questions than answers. And I think if I had a baby in 2020, like in September or in the summer, and even in the spring of last year, I think that would have been a lot harder, because we were in the thick of it. And you know, I don't say that to say that we're out of this pandemic by any means, because I know we aren't. But with it being May in 2021, like I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I am hopeful just as you are. And so that just makes me more positive. But had I had a newborn in 2020 at some point, I think that would have been really difficult mentally and emotionally to get through. And having not been around my family and still being in LA, I think it would have been a different story. That's why I am such a big proponent. I was talking to a friend last week and she was like, yeah, I'm thinking about moving back home to Atlanta. We're thinking about trying to start a family. And I'm like, yes, do it. You move back to Atlanta. That's a good decision.
Yeah. Well, that's like, honestly, I think one of the only reasons we're here, my husband, like I said, his whole family's here, and, we don't love it in Illinois. We live outside Chicago. We don't love it here. There's nothing here that like I'm in love with, especially like I lived in Vegas for so long. So I would go to Zion. I'd go to the Grand Canyon. I'd drive to the beach. Like there was so much close by, and like hiking, and here it's nothing. And so we talk all the time about moving. Like we got married in Montana. We're like, let's move to Montana. Let's move to Idaho. Let's like move somewhere where there's outdoors. But we're like, can we move somewhere with no family? Like, can we do that? And that's like our biggest thing that stops us.
Totally. I resonate with that so much. Would you ever consider Dallas?
No, I don't think so. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of between Dallas and Little Rock for us coming from LA last year. And for us, it was just like, if we're going to be, you know, a 4.5 hour drive from my family in Arkansas, because that's how far Dallas and Little Rock are from each other. It's like, why not just move to Arkansas? It has more outdoor activities. There's great hiking. Sorry for any Dallas listeners, but I feel like it's just a little bit of a concrete jungle back over there.
Yeah.
I love Dallas. Grew up going to Dallas, but yeah, I hear you.
Well, and I'm not from Dallas. Like my family moved there 5 years ago. So it's not like,
got it.
If I was from there and grew up there, I feel like that'd be a little bit different, but my family maybe 6 years ago, something like that. My sister and husband and kids, and then my parents moved there. So I don't have like an emotional connection or tie, and we want to be close to the nature. I missed being in nature. Like, I don't know. It's hard, but, yeah, we're like, let's buy land in Wyoming or let's, like whatever. And it's just like,
I think about it all the time. We are traveling next week for the first time as a family, and I am so excited, slightly nervous. I don't know how Nora's going to do on a plane. Like, it's just one big question mark. And I'm like, what if we just move to Hawaii? Mm-hmm. What if we just move to Oregon? But now, knowing what I know now and how imperative family and a good community is, yeah, I have the same question. And I think so many people do. Right. I received so many messages when we moved from LA to Arkansas last October, just because everybody's kind of grappling with that. I think especially in a pandemic too, mm-hmm. where people are reevaluating their lives. A lot of people are moving out of the big cities. And it's on a lot of people's minds right now. So I don't think we're alone in that.
Right. No, for sure. All right. So I want to share with you guys one of my favorite services that I use, and that is Stitch Fix. Shopping for new clothes can be very stressful. I know I do not like going to a mall or a store. I instantly feel very overwhelmed and I don't know what to get, what's going to fit my body type right. And that's why I love Stitch Fix. You have a personal stylist who picks out things for you. You take a quiz online to kind of show what kind of styles you're into or things that you would wear, and you fill out your size, your style, your budget. And it's just a completely different and fun way to find clothes that you will love to wear. I actually used this during my pregnancy last year for maternity clothes, and I got the cutest dresses that I probably would not have picked out for myself. And then they came and I tried them on and absolutely loved them. And so I'm doing it again this year because I'm back at where I'm like, I do not know what to wear. The weather's getting warmer outside. I need a few new cute outfits to go out in. So naturally, I'm using Stitch Fix. Also, there's no subscription required. You can try it once, or you can set up automatic deliveries. You just pay $20 for the styling fee for each box, and it gets credited toward the pieces that you keep. And you can send back whatever you don't want to keep. It's super, super easy. And then you're just charged for the items that you absolutely loved and that you wanted to keep. You can get started today at stitchfix.com/mamas, and you'll get 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. That's stitchfix.com/mamas for 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. That's stitchfix.com/mamas. So I'd love to kind of back up a little bit and talk about your birth. What did you envision your birth experience being like, and what was it really like?
Yeah, I love it. I love that question. I couldn't really envision what it looked like. I don't know why. I was okay with that. Like I didn't obsess over it, and I didn't have a birth plan. And so many people were like, well, what's your birth plan? And I think the plan was just to have a hopefully healthy baby. Like that was the plan. I was kind of on this no plan. And it's so interesting to see the mom shamers start to come out when you dive into all these pregnancy or mom baby topics. And even something like not exactly having a strict birth plan. That was the first experience that I had with mom shamers. And I still don't understand it. But I didn't want to go in there with high expectations, and then be let down, because I've heard from so many friends and family members, like they had this expectation, didn't go that way. They were disappointed. So I learned from that and went in there with no expectations. And I was so excited to move through it because I had already gone through a double mastectomy. I was already super in tune with my body. And so I had a good feeling that labor and delivery was just going to be hopefully a good experience. And so my water broke in an ice storm. Oh, and I remember Alex having to fill up a cooler with hot water and take it to our driveway, because it's a steep driveway when we don't have 4-wheel drive. And he did like 10 trips with a cooler and hot water to get us out of there. And I had to put a towel down in the front seat and we drove to the hospital and got admitted. And it was just like this, everybody was cool, calm, and collected. Not everybody. I remember we were packing. We didn't have a bag packed. My water broke 3 weeks before my due date. And my mom came over to try and help us. And Alex and my mom were kind of frantic running around the house. And I was like, guys, take a deep breath. Yeah. Like, everything's okay. This is going to be great. And so we arrived at the hospital. I mean, I remember even like we pulled over to get a smoothie on the way to the hospital. Like, there was just I was just excited and hungry. And the nurse told me, because I called them and I was like, hey, I think my water just broke. I'm not sure. It's like a slow trickle. I thought it was supposed to be a gush. What's the deal? They said, if you saturate a pad in an hour, come in. And I saturated that pad in literally 30 seconds. So I was like, okay, we're having this baby. And and she was like, and also eat something before you come. So anyway, we get the smoothie, we arrive, we're admitted, and everything's just super smooth. The contractions start coming on, and I knew I wanted an epidural. It's another mom shaming topic, which I don't understand. Literally don't get it. And there is nothing, can I just say, there is nothing better than an epidural. There is nothing better. I mean, I knew it numbed your lower body. I had no idea it would send you into this euphoric state. Mm-hmm. I felt amazing. I was just happy, ready to have the baby. I was dozing off into sleep. So was Alex. And I remember around 3:00 a.m. was approaching, and the doctor came in to give me a cervical check. And she was like, oh, wow, we're ready to have this baby. Are you ready to have this baby? And I looked at her and I was like, oh, but right now, like, I feel so good.
Right. Yeah. Just 10 more minutes of sleep.
Yeah. I was like, no, this is just like, maybe just like another hour or something. And all of a sudden, like 10 nurses came in, lights went on. It was literally lights, camera, action. And it was high energy. Everybody was happy, excited. It was just like, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was so fun. And they put my legs in stirrups and they kind of guided me how to push. And she was like, okay, you ready? And so I did my first push, did my second push, did my third push, and then she was here.
Oh my gosh.
And I had always wondered what it would be like when they put my baby on my chest for the first time, because it's like, yes, you grew this human for 9 months. And so maybe some people felt like they really, truly knew her or him, and some people may not, and everybody's so different. And they put her on my chest, and it was just like pure elation. It was so cool. I mean, I wish I could relive that 48-hour experience again and again. Yeah, I loved it. It was so fun. And I remember telling my mom, like, it was so fun. And she was like, I've never heard labor and delivery described like that.
No. All right, we're going to take a quick break from this episode so I can talk about one of my favorite games. And growing up, game night was always my favorite, and it still is. And you guys know I love any sort of puzzles. And that is why I love Best Fiends. You get to solve tons of fun puzzles with just the right amount of challenge and strategy involved. I've been playing Best Fiends for quite a while now, and I am in the thousands. But I've loved collecting characters along the way, unlocking new levels, and playing a little friendly competition against some of my friends. You can kind of connect with them on Facebook. You can send them gifts or receive gifts from them. And in fact, it is so much fun that I cannot stop playing. And there's literally thousands of levels. And you think they might run out, but they will not. They're always adding new levels on, and you can collect the characters, and they just keep on coming. I always have a hard time choosing which one's my favorite, though. So right now, you guys can download the 5-star rated puzzle game Best Fiends free today on the App Store or Google Play. That's Friends without the R, Best Fiends. So I don't know if you know, I work as a birth doula.
I know you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree, like, there should not be any shaming at all. And so when you were talking about the epidural and describing this feeling of just elation, I don't think that happens to every person. Some people get the epidural and it really is just the numbing from the waist down.
Okay.
What you described is exactly what I felt when I got it. I felt like I was like almost high. And then I was out. Like after she was born, because she went to the NICU, I was passed out. I was in the room. Vito had gone with the baby. My doula was there. And you couldn't even bring me back to life. Like it was the deepest sleep I've ever had in my life. Yes. Like I didn't even care like about anything. And I just remember when I got that epidural, I'm like, this is the best thing in the world. I need this at home to go to bed every night. Like, yes. What is this?
I'm like, why don't people talk about this? But it's so interesting to know that it doesn't affect everyone the same.
It doesn't. Some people literally feel just the numbing.
Okay.
But I felt exactly what you're describing. Mine was pretty heavy. I had zero control of my legs at all.
Zero. I mean, I even asked them, I'm like, I can barely make a sentence.
Right.
Do I have too much happening? I mean, I feel like I'm about to start foaming at the mouth. And I told them that. They're like, nah, you're fine. That's normal. And I was like, okay, just as long as everybody's aware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause I've been at a lot of births where they get that epidural, but they still have control of their legs. Like they can kind of scooch and move things. Wow. Like the one time my midwife let go of my leg and it just like completely flopped off the bed and I felt nothing. Like literally nothing.
I mean, it's a crazy drug. It really is. I'm just going to say it, but I'm very thankful for it. Like mm-hmm. You know what? I really wanted to experience what exactly contractions felt like. But having heard so many different experiences from friends and family, I knew I wanted the epidural. So I had maybe 30, 45 minutes of contractions. And so shout out to the moms who forego the epidural.
Yeah.
And then shout out to the moms who go for the epidural. Who cares? You don't win a prize for either one. But man, yeah, I mean, for everybody who doesn't get the epidural, Godspeed. That's amazing. That's amazing. Because it got tough.
Oh yeah. I mean, labor's no joke, no matter what. And that's where I feel like people would just celebrate, no matter how you become a parent, whether it's adoption or IVF or whether you have a C-section or a medicated birth or unmedicated birth. It's there's not a right or a wrong. You are freaking amazing for bringing life mm-hmm. into this world or helping raise a life or choosing to do that. That's what we need to focus on. And you've brought up several times, just in these different choices you've made along the way, you've heard backlash or shaming. And it's so inappropriate. It's as women, we have to deal with enough shit from the patriarchal systems in our country.
100%. Yeah.
And so it's why are we doing that to each other?
Women are mean to each other. And I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. And I don't know the best way to combat it other than exposing people. Mm-hmm. And I know that might not, everybody has their own opinion. And, a lot of this is obviously online bullying, cyberbullying, mom shaming. And so when I say exposing, I just mean putting it up, for anybody to see, because I feel like if they feel safe behind their screen, they're just going to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I have been doing as of late. And that's all I know how to hopefully combat it, is to continue talking about it and exposing them in hopes that they see how wrong they are. And I think at the end of the day, it's just projecting.
They're projecting. For sure.
I mean, it says a lot more about them than it does me. And so I hate that these people may be in a bad place, and yet here I am exposing them to more possible hate, mm-hmm. But I don't know what else to do, because it's not slowing down.
Well, and like you said, I think taking the mentality though, that it's them projecting something. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with themselves. I think as moms, you just get very easily triggered because everyone's trying to figure it out. But when you realize that by me sharing what I'm doing, I'm not saying you're wrong, you suck, you're not doing a good job.
Right.
But I think that that's just sometimes how people take things, because I'll share like scientific data on something and people will be like, well, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm just sharing a research paper. Like, because I want people to have their options and to know what to do. Like every experience is different. Everybody is different. Everyone's preferences are different, but I want people to have the information. So, yeah, I mean, you have to just own your own decisions and be confident in yourself as a mom at the end of the day, which is hard enough. So stop shaming.
Stop.
Stop.
It kills me. And it's something I'm very passionate about right now.
You seem a little fired up.
I am fired up. I'm a little fired up. So if you want to get real spicy, we can keep going. But yeah, it's sad. And I don't know how we got here between like breastfeeding and epidurals and how strangers get off on telling other strangers how to raise their kids. Like, you know your kid better than anybody. And so, yeah, I'll stop. But
no, it's definitely true. So like speaking of knowing your kid better than anything or anyone, what has been your favorite part of watching your daughter just kind of grow and learn these last couple of months?
I think exactly that, growing and learning, and you can see the light bulb moments in her face and in her eyes. And it's just so cool to see your kid start to slowly understand the world, because she's 3 months next week. And so she's still kind of a bump on a log. But like her personality is starting to show more and more every day. And so that's super fun. And she started smiling last month for the first time, which like, if anything in your day is wrong, if your kid smiles at you, then it's just like, oh, everything in the world is better. And there's nothing else that matters. And just seeing how far she's come in 3 months. I mean, I remember bringing her home from the hospital. She was sleeping in her bassinet she slept in her bassinet for the first 5 weeks. And we were waking up every 2 hours to feed because she was so small. She was such a pipsqueak. When she came home from the hospital, she was 5 pounds and 12 ounces. And so she just demanded bottle after bottle after bottle. And I was just like, oh my God, I've never experienced sleep deprivation like this. This is unhealthy. But everybody says it gets better. It gets better.
It does.
And you're like, when? Well, when? Give me a time frame here, because I need a light at the end of the tunnel. And I remember around the 6-week mark, things turned a corner, and it was just like, oh, this is what people were talking about. And so slowly it has gotten better. And she slept through the night for the first time last week, although it hasn't stuck, but that's okay. Yeah. At least we know she can do it. And so it's just that. It's just experiencing her and taking her in every day. Yeah. It's great. I know you have a 8-month-old. So I'm sure it's just I'm sure your experience is so different, because around like 5-6 months, they really start to show their personality, right?
Oh yeah. It definitely, like you said, like you turn a corner and you're like, oh, this is better. But then you turn another corner and you're like, oh, this is so much better. You know, it's like you just kind of keep turning corners, and it's just like, I'm so obsessed with her. Like and like you said, even when she smiles, I just like look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, everything inside of me is just a puddle.
A puddle. That's so true. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so fun. So what is she doing at 8 months now?
Well, I mean, every kid is so different. So it's like, but she's crawling everywhere and pulling herself up and just like smiling. She started dancing, like moving her head, like she loves music. The only thing that like sucks is like we haven't been around tons of people. So she does get that like stranger danger thing. Like we went to a family party for the first time a couple weeks ago, and it was her first time meeting like even some aunts and uncles that live like 5 minutes away. And she's so bashful, which like at home, obviously, like she's not at all. So it's like interesting seeing her around other people, but she goes to them pretty easily. Like, my husband and I, we had a wedding this last weekend. And so my mother-in-law watched her, and then my sister took her overnight. And they said, they're like, she was an angel. Like, she was so easy. She was so good for us. I'm like, she didn't even miss me. Like, you know?
Wait, what? You were like secretly hoping.
I know.
Like yeah.
Oh, I'm the only one that can do it. I get it. Like, she missed me so much. And they're like, oh, she went right to sleep. And then I'm like, wait, she goes right to sleep for you, but she doesn't for me? Like, what the heck?
Totally. Oh my gosh. I know. Pandemic babies are a thing for sure. I think I was talking to my friend whose sister has a, I don't know, 6-month-old, and their dad went to Illinois to keep him last weekend, and he got off the plane, he arrived, and the baby just wasn't having it. He'd stopped eating, he wouldn't sleep, and they had to cancel their trip. And he just had to go back to Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real thing. So I think, like I said, like things are getting slowly better. I mean, it sounds like you guys are getting out a little more too. So I think it's just good for everyone.
Well, it'll be this week. I'm going out for Cinco de Mayo with some friends, and it'll be the first time that my husband actually it's not the first time in a while that he's like put her to sleep by himself. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
The text that I get.
It always is. It's like, oh, wait, you made that decision?
Right.
Okay, I guess I just have to go with it because we are co-parenting here. But I mean,
I feel like it's just survival mode at that point. It's like, okay, whatever you have to do to make her happy.
And it's great. You know, I think you should share that responsibility and those decisions, because if you bear everything and all of those decisions, I think it becomes so overbearing on you, because then it's like, well, your partner's going to be asking this and this and this. And then at some point, it's just nice to not make a decision. Mm-hmm. You know, it's nice to be like, oh, okay, you did that. Great. I didn't have to do it.
Right. I was reading recently that decision fatigue is a real thing. And like, it's something that moms deal with all the time, because you're figuring out, what am I making the kids for lunch? What am I making the family for dinner? What are we going to do with our free time today? It's like all these decisions every single day are on you. So it's like at some point you're like, I don't care. You can eat cereal out of the box tonight for dinner because I'm done.
Yeah. Yes. That's exactly what I'm getting at. And so I think I'm really grateful for my partner, because it's a good balance between the two of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. What has been your favorite part about watching him become a dad?
That's a good question. You know, you don't really know how your partner's going to do. You don't know how you yourself are going to do. And so it was just like overnight, so seamless, so effortless for him. And I mean, even to this day, like he came in the living room from waking up and just immediately took her over, and she's smiling at him. And I'm just like, you're meant to be a dad. Like, mm-hmm. It was so plainly obvious. And just, he had to go away to LA last week for a job. And it's just like, you just know they're so in it. I mean, I just know he's so in it, because he's just like calling all the time, asking for photos, for videos. And it's just, I'm just so grateful he is and wants to be extremely involved, mm-hmm. because that's what I signed up for.
Right.
And that's what I was hoping for, but you don't really know until you're in it. Mm-hmm. And here we are. Yeah. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's hard because you can talk about what you think and maybe what your expectations are, but then when you're in it, you actually see like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You're more hands off.
Right.
No, he's the opposite. He's very hands on, and it's just the coolest thing to see them together. And she's like very much his twin. And no, I think I've heard like a handful of people be like, oh, I can see you in her. That child looks nothing like me.
Yeah.
Nothing like me. And that's fine. I love that. I love that she is like him with a girl face on her body.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, yeah. That's so fun. So before we wrap up, what would be some advice that you would give first-time moms who are maybe giving birth soon or during just kind of this time with everything going on in the world?
Good question. I think that it would be that it's okay to ask for help. I think I still struggle with that, even though I have a really solid support system around me. It is so okay to ask for help, and I think you'll need it. You'll need to step away. Like, it is so important to step away so that you can refill your cup. Because I know what I do. I'm a better mom. And I think the old age way of motherhood was never stepping away. And I think that's still around in some areas today. But, you know, as a working mom myself, I know I can't do it all. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's okay to ask for help. And in order to refill your cup, I think you need to step away, even if that's going on a run for yourself or sitting down for a meal by yourself. Because, man, I either eat something on the go really fast, shoving something in my mouth. Like, how many seconds can I eat this meal in standing up? So when I actually sit down, like by myself or even with my partner for a meal, it's a luxury. Mm-hmm. So I think those would be my two. Would be, it's okay to ask for help and find time to step away because it's just imperative in my eyes. And I know not everybody shares that sentiment. Because I went back and forth with somebody about this, another mom shamer who, claims to have done everything by herself with her 7 and 5-year-old, and that they've never, ever experienced another set of helping hands. And I think that's harmful to everyone involved. I think it's important to share your kids with your family and friends and allow them to know other people. I think in a long-winded way, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Well, that brings up something that we talked about here on the podcast before was moms sometimes they love to be needed. Like, I know I love to be needed, but sometimes you can build a place where I'm the only one who can do anything right. And I'm the only one who can do this. And then you put that on yourself. And there comes a point where like even me, like with the first time I had a meeting and my husband put her down and I could hear her screaming, but I'm in this meeting and just like telling myself, he's a competent adult who knows how to care for our baby. And maybe he's doing things a little bit differently and she's used to me, but that's okay. And it's going to be okay. Not me being like, hey guys, sorry, I have to leave this meeting. Like, I hear my kid crying. Like when you take all of that on, it's a lot, and then it's going to be a lot for a very long time.
Yes. So it's okay to delegate. And exactly, I think that recognition and, confidence in your partner, like that's, he's a
more grown man. He knows how to take care of our baby.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good reminder to come back to for sure, because you can just have that thought in your mind at all times. Like, I know how I am the best for this. I can do this better than anyone. And it's like, maybe, but like, it's so good to delegate and have her experience it through other people.
Oh yeah. 100%. Well, we're looking forward to following you on your trip with your baby.
Yeah, thanks. I like I said, I am excited, but slightly very nervous because, you can travel the world by yourself or with a partner any day of the week, and it's so fun and in a lot of ways, it's a selfish way of living until you bring this little tiny human along with you and you have no idea how they're going to act, react, what they're going to need, how you're throwing them off their routine. Like, so many more questions than answers, but I think at some point you just have to do it. And that's the only way you're going to figure it out.
Well, I'm sure after this, you're going to have a bunch of baby travel tips for everyone, all the lessons you learned and all of that. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find and follow you?
Yeah, for sure. My blog is The Road Less Traveled. That's less with one S. And my Instagram is Lesley and Murphy, and with an E. Lesley with an EY. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Everybody misspells it.
I misspelled it earlier. I was trying to look some questions up for the podcast, and I'm like, why is she not pulling up? And I'm like, oh, it's wrong.
Yeah, that's why. And so for baby names, you think about that, and you're like, what's something that I guess isn't going to be butchered like my name was? And it's still, sometimes Nora with an H. There are so many variations to everything these days, but that's okay.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have it linked in the show notes so that people will know where to connect with you at.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I had such a great time chatting with Lesley. It's so fun connecting with new moms. I feel like you don't get it until you're in it. And then when you're in it, you're like, oh, I see. Because I remember before thinking, I've had friends before that have had a hard time leaving their kids to go out. And I'm like, I just don't get it. And now that I have a kid, I'm like, I don't want to leave her to go out. I'd rather stay home and be with her. But then I'm also, seeking friendships and wanting to connect with other moms. And it's like, everyone just come over to my house and hang out with me and my baby because this is where I want to be, but I want to be friends with you. And just the struggle of finding where you fit in that new season of life is really, really hard. And I feel like it's given me a lot more empathy toward relationships that maybe I had friends who had kids before me and I didn't get it. And now I'm like, oh, sorry I wasn't there for you as much as I could have been. And I just didn't get it. I had a friend who had 2 kids and she'd always want me to come to her house. I'm like, why can't we go out and meet somewhere? And now I'm like, oh, I understand. It is nice to get out of the house, but I also get hey, it's just easier for you to come over here because my life is chaos right now. So I feel like it's just nice connecting with new moms who are in it, but yet we all have different experiences too. But there's definitely something where you're like, oh, I get it now. So yeah, definitely follow along with Lesley. You guys can check out her new trip that she's going on with her baby for the first time. And I'm sure she's going to have all of the traveling tips for everyone. So go follow her. And if you're listening, don't forget to rate and leave a review. Reach out to me. Let me know who you want to come on the podcast, who you want to hear from. And we will definitely try to make that happen. And I just love you guys so much. Don't forget to listen next week with the Minimalist Mom to get some tips on how to declutter your home and your life and to live simply. All right. I hope you guys have a great week. Bye.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing while you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. And then we cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy podcast on your podcast app.